Hello everybody, it's Amell, and today I'm going to show you how to solve the restore IP addresses problem. Given a string containing only digits, restore it by returning all possible valid IP address combinations. So in this example, they give you this string, and the output is a list that has all the possible IP address combinations. So how can we solve this problem? Well, if we think about it, an IPv4 address has 3 dots. So we can use nested loops. And we use those nested loops to place the dots in all the possible positions. So for example, we're going to have 4 parts because an IP address, an IPv4 address has 4 parts. For example, this is the first part, the second part, the third part, and the fourth part. So in order to generate all the possible IP address combinations, we need to place those dots. We need to place the dots in different positions. So that's why I'm going to have nested for loops. So for example, here I can place a dot after the 2. So the first part would be a 2. Or I could place the dot after the 5. So the first part would be 2, 5. Or I could place the dot after the other 5. So the first part would be 2, 5, 5. Okay, if I place the dot after the 2, then the second part could be formed of the 5, or it could be formed of 5, 5, or it could be formed of 5, 5, 2. Okay, but if I place the dot for the first part after the 5, the first part would be 25, and the second part could be formed, it could be the 5, or it could be the 5, 2, or it could be the 5, 2, 5. And if I place the dot after the second 5 for the first part, then the first part will be 2, 5, 5. And the second part could be formed of 2, or it could be formed of 2, 5, or it could be formed of 2, 5, 5. So think about a valid part. What is a valid part? To be a valid part in an IPv4 address, it has to be, the number here has to be between 0 inclusive and 255 inclusive. So that's one rule to be a valid IPv4 address. So, and if there's a 0 in one part, it has to be only 1 0. If there's more than 1 0, it's not fine for that part. And as you can see, if we have those nested loops, we can place the dots in all available positions for the first part, for the second part, the third, and the fourth. And every time we check if those parts are valid. If all those parts are valid, then we have a new valid IP address combination. And as you know, an IP address can be IPv4 and IPv6. So we're dealing with IPv4. An IPv4 address has 32 bits. So remember that an IP address identifies a computer or a device on a network. So without further ado, I'm going to show you how to write the code. First, I'm going to have a list of string, the final result. I'm going to call it result, get the value of new array list of string. So as you can see, I want to check every iteration if the part that I just made is valid. So I'm going to have a helper method. So I'm going to say private boolean, it's going to return true or false, is valid part string s. So this helper method is going to tell me if a part is valid. Whenever I form a part, I'm going to call this method to check if it is valid. If it is not valid, I can prune early, so I don't have to consider this part and I can go to the next one. So first, if s.length is greater than 3, return false. So if the number of digits in the part is more than 3, then this part is not valid. So I return false because it can only be from one digit. It can have one digit all the way to 3 digits, but it cannot have like more, like 4 or more. It cannot have like more than 3 digits. Also, if s that starts with 0 and s that length is greater than 1, return false. Okay, so if the part has a 0 and the length is more than 1, then this is not valid. Because if there's a 0, only one 0, that's fine. But if the 0 is at the beginning, it's not fine, because if the 0, there are more digits after the 0, this is not a valid IP part. If there are, for instance, 00 is not valid. 000 is not valid. So 0 is valid, but 00 is not valid, or 01 is not valid, or 000, etc. are not valid. Okay. Then I'm gonna convert this part to an integer. So integer value gets a value of integer that parse int of s. And as I said before, the part can only be between 0 and 255. So I'm gonna say this is valid if it is within that range. So I'm gonna say return value is greater than or equal to 0 and the value is less than or equal to 255. So if it meets this condition, it's gonna return true. If it doesn't meet this condition, it's gonna return false. Okay, so back to the main method. I have a list of string result. At the end of everything, I'm gonna return result. Okay. Also, I wanna have the length of the string, so I'm gonna say integer n gets a value of s dot length. And now I'm gonna have those nested loops in order to place the dot in every possible position for every part, and I can check if I'm able to build an IP address that is valid. So I'm gonna say for integer I gets a value of 1, I is less than the length of the string, and I is less than 4 plus I. So why do I start at 1 here? Because I want to place the dot. First, I want to take like the first digit, so I'm going to use the substring method. So I'm going to say from 0 inclusive to I exclusive, and that's going to give me the first digit. And then I'm going to take the first 2 digits, and then I'm going to take the first 3 digits. So that's why I start from 1, because first I want to take the first digit, then the first 2 digits, and then the first 3. In that way I can place the dot in those positions. So I'm gonna say string first gets a value of s dash substring from 0 inclusive to I exclusive. Okay, so now what I want to do is that since I have this part, I want to check if it is valid. So I'm gonna say if not is valid part the first, then I say continue. So if the first part is not valid, I want to continue to the next iteration. I don't want to continue making more parts because I know this is not valid, so I want to prune early. I want to avoid doing unnecessary work and just try to go to the next part to make a new first. But if it is valid, then I want to make the second part. So for integer j gets a value of 1, I plus j is less than n, and j is less than 4 plus j. So here also I start from 1, as I said before, because I want to be able to take the first 1 digit and 2 digits and 3 digits. And I have to use I plus j less than n, because this is an offset. The I is an offset because I want to start from, depending on the I want to start on the next number after the I finishes. So I say I plus j is less than n, and also j is less than 4, because remember, I'm trying to make a part here, so the part can only have 3 digits, so that's why I have to check j is less than 4. So I say string second gets a value of s dash substring. Okay, so from I inclusive to I plus j exclusive. So as you can see, in the first part doesn't include the one at position I, so that's where the second part starts, including the one at position I, all the way to I plus j exclusive, excluding that one at position I plus j. That way I'm gonna get the digit or the digits where they correspond, first one digit and two digits and then three. Okay, so if not is valid part, the second, then I continue. Why? Because the second is not valid, so I don't want to do unnecessary work, so I prune early and go to the next iteration to try to make a new second part that is valid. Okay, but if the second was valid, then I want to try to make the third. So I'm going to say for integer k gets a value of 1, I plus j plus k is less than the length of the string and k is less than 4, then plus plus k. Okay, so as you can see, for the same reason, I start k from 1, because first I want to add the first digit and then the first two and then the first three for the third part. So I also have to have I plus j plus k. Why? Because I want to have the offset is I plus j and k is like the current position. That way I can start where the last one ended. So I'm gonna say string third gets a value of s, that's substring. So where did the last one end? At position I plus j exclusive. So I want to start at that position, I plus j inclusive, to position I plus j plus k exclusive. So this is going to give me the third part, starting from this position inclusive, ending at this position exclusive. And finally, I also have to have the fourth part. String fourth is the value of s, that's substring, from position. Okay, this one ended at position I plus j plus k exclusive. So I want to include it in this part, in the fourth part. So I'm going to say I plus j plus k inclusive all the way to the end. Because this is the last part, then I include this the value of this position and go all the way to the end of the string. So now I have the third part and the fourth part. I also want to check that they're valid. So if not is valid part, the third, or not is valid part, the fourth, then continue. So that means if the third part is not valid or the fourth part is not valid, then I cannot make this IP address. This is not a valid IP address. So because this is not a possible IP address, I go to the next iteration and don't add it to the final result. But if both of them are valid, then I do have to add it to the final result. So I say result.add. I'm gonna first the first part plus a dot plus the second part plus a dot plus the third part plus a dot plus the fourth part. So if I get to this line, that means that the first part was valid. It also means that the second part was valid, and it also means that the third and the fourth part was valid. So because all the parts were valid, I add the final IP address to the result. So I have a new possible IP address. And by the end of all this iteration, I will have the final output, all the possible IP addresses. So I'm gonna run the code. Okay, so it seems to be working perfectly. So I'm gonna submit the solution. Alright, so it's working perfectly. 2 milliseconds faster than 91.11% of Java Online submissions for restore IP addresses. Alright, so thank you for watching. Please press the like button and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.